Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to another edition of KCPS Homeroom. My name is Chris Odam. Today, kind of revisiting the paths of some of the students that I might have had the joy to work with. And we have a really great example with us here this morning of someone who found her path, I think, in the process of education. So I'm going to stop talking as soon as possible and make her the one with the microphone. So this is Breanna Walker. She came out of Paseo Academy as a graduate in what year?
2011, 2K Live.
2011. And so, Breanna, will you give us an update of kind of what's been going on with you since then? And then we'll get into some of what you might have done in high school that gave you some clues about what you might do with your future.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a lot since graduating. We're coming up on our 10-year anniversary for graduation. We're actually planning our high school reunion now, me, Galen, and some of the other folks. But since 2011, well, I graduated in 2011 and then went on to Mizzou, University of Missouri in Columbia, where soul searching was real from freshman year on. So I started out as an epidemiology major. I thought I wanted to be a scientist. I still kind of do, secretly want to be a scientist, but started out there, had a chemistry class and said that's not for me. And then I switched to education. My major, my second year, sophomore and junior year, or sophomore and beginning of junior year was special education as a major. So went into the classroom, did a few service hours, loved it, but I just didn't feel an extreme connection to it. And so then junior year, that's when I switched my major to performance theater. I graduated with my Bachelor of Fine Arts in Performance Theater from Mizzou. When I left Mizzou, I stayed in Columbia like a lot of college grads do, and I worked in admissions. I was their coordinator of culturally diverse recruitment for 2 years. I love that position, probably the best entry-level position anybody could have, honestly. Used a lot of my theater degree. And then just through that time, working with the students on campus and then working with high school seniors and juniors, I traveled up and down I-70 in Kansas City, Missouri public schools and St. Louis public schools. And that time is really when I started to pick up, I think this mentorship thing, this education thing is really what I want to get into, because I realized that the students that I was talking to, it was less about how to get to Mizzou, and it was more about what is college? What is financial aid? Do you all get suspended from school in college? Those kinds of conversations is what I was having. And so I just really realized, wow, they need somebody like me in the school building to not just tell them how to get to college, but to prepare them for life after high school. And that's what I saw a huge deficit with. So I stopped working at Mizzou, moved to St. Louis, Missouri, where I worked at a nonprofit called College Bound. And so I had a 15 student cohort of seniors all around the city, and I helped them all get to college. And I was very proud that 95% of them went on to school with having little to no college debt. A lot of them had full ride scholarships to the schools that they were going to. So I was quite proud of them. So then after that, that is really, so when we talk about premonitions and finding ourselves and finding what path I wanted to go down, that was where I figured it out. I had an epiphany, February of 2018. I will never forget it. It was a Tuesday and I was working with 4 of my students, and we just started laughing and having a great time. And I said, you know what? This is where I need to be. I need to be with high school age students in a classroom or in a school building, impacting them in some way, shape, or form. I knew I didn't necessarily want to be a teacher, but I knew I would be an educator in some way, shape, or form. And I don't know, Mr. Odom, you're an educator. I consider you an educator. You have a wealth of information, but I think there's a difference between teaching and educating. somebody, where you're teaching, you're instructing, you're giving them what they need to get by. But to educate means to instill something in somebody,
Mhm.
for me at least. And I realized I didn't want to be a teacher. I wanted to be an educator. I wanted to impact. But then I stopped there. And I decided I was going to use my Bachelor of Fine Arts and move to New York. So I moved to New York City that April of 2018. And I was a starving actress. Everything you see in the movies is real when it comes to being hungry, not being able to find a job, paying for the acting programs that I was in while I was there. I studied at Stella Adler Acting Conservatory in New York, and I absolutely loved it. Wanted to stay. I still feel like I have some unfinished business there, but it was just not the right time. Was not the right time at all. I feel like I pressured myself into doing that and pushed myself to something that I wasn't truly ready for. So while I was there, I was contacted by the school that I'm working out now, which is St. Teresa's Academy in Kansas City. We had talked well before that, but they saw a need for me. So while I was in New York, they called me and said, "Hey, we have a position for you and we really want you to come back." So now I am the Director of Equity Outreach and Inclusive Education for St. Teresa's Academy in Kansas City.
That's unbelievable. And I don't mean by any means that we wouldn't have believed you would have this path and meeting you when you were in high school. But just, it's exciting, I suppose, to hear how you furthered on maybe a tiny little nudge from some people, or how you've listened to your experiences and then made them so relevant. So I was the same way, coming out of school, searching for purpose, feeling artistic, wanting to keep that part of me alive, and found that I could do that as an educator. And I thank you for including me in that important group. It's a
Yeah,
delineation to make between just teacher and educator. I totally agree, and I'm just filled. Like, I'm sitting here. I always tell people you can't choose to have goosebumps. It's a fantastic thing. Like, good luck just trying to have them, right? But I've I've just been filled listening to your story. And one reason that I really enjoy doing these is in order to educate, you have to find ways to stay full. And I can tell immediately just talking to you, I mean, you are so full yourself that you have plenty to give. And I think that's just so fantastic. And I'm so honored to have had anything to do with your early days and getting started. Talk a little bit about those early days. Like, I was doing things experimentally as a teacher that I've since learned are kind of good ideas, like giving students voice and putting
yeah,
people in front of people to hear what they think, and building a community to come listen, or doing a contest like Poetry Out Loud, where people just kind of get into the public speaking arena in a different way and then might realize they love it. Were any of those things for you things that you would recommend to other people, and then why?
absolutely. And I want to start off by saying, Mr. Odom, when I was in his senior class for creative writing, at the beginning, we he can attest to this. We were like, nope, we were resistant. We didn't want to do much because we just hadn't been pushed to do the things that Mr. Odom was making us do in that class. Just the types of writing and the amount of writing that we were doing in that class. We weren't pushed like that until that class. And I will never forget, at the beginning of senior year, he made us all sit down and write ourselves a letter. Not just any letter, but we had to detail and put measurable goals in that letter. And I will never forget, in my letter, I wrote, I want to compete in Poetry Out Loud and I want to win. And I don't even think Mr. Odom read those letters. I think he made us seal them and he locked them in a drawer. So I thank him for being confident in that. But he somehow he said, "Bree, Poetry Out Loud. I see you at Coffee House. I see you on stage. We're gonna put you in Poetry Out Loud." And I was like, I don't know. Did it, made it past regionals, made it to state. I didn't make it past state, but that was an awesome experience. And I would definitely recommend that to any student who is wanting to, like Mr. Odom said, find your voice, to get involved outside of the classroom. It was definitely that pipeline for me saying, okay, I can get in front of a huge auditorium in Jefferson City, Missouri, where I know absolutely nobody except for my mom, my dad, my best friend at the time, or Galen and Mr. Odom, who were in the front row watching me on this stage. And it was the perfect pipeline to seeing I can do this. And not only just performing, but I can speak and I can be powerful, not just using my own words, but using other people's words. These were poems that have been written and stood the test of time. I think I did an Edgar Allan Poe poem, and yeah, just words that stood the test of time, but I was still able to convey a message with those and make it as far as I did through Poetry Out Loud. So I would absolutely recommend Poetry Out Loud. Is it called Think Like a Bomb, or do you know what I'm talking about? Think you're on mute still.
Louder than a bomb.
Louder than a bomb. Yeah, I was not brave enough for that one, or Brave New Voices. I had a couple students at Paseo that did Brave New Voices, but I was not brave enough for that. But Poetry Out Loud, Louder Than a Bomb, Brave New Voices, I definitely recommend those.
In theater, you were in a lot of the plays at Paseo as well.
I was, yes.
You read with the Kansas City Symphony and did Peter the Wolf, right?
And I don't even know how I was found to do that, honestly. I would never
because
remember.
You're supposed to be. And that's what it's so fun to see that a lot of what you're doing now echoes what you were doing then. And yeah. I think so. I'm just so excited for you. And I would hope then that you can introduce people to some of these things too. And I know that'd be, bring it from St. Teresa's. Let's compete with somebody in our district. So that was always kind of fun. We had a rivalry like with Scion, right? Down the street. Yeah. And it was especially important, I think, on those Saturday mornings in the Writers' Place that's now closed.
Is it?
It is. It lost its funding. They have since relocated somewhere. So I think it's up for sale. It's a neat old building. But some of those, those are groundbreaking, in my mind, memories that I'm excited to hear we're part of your strength coming out of school. And they certainly were mine coming out of teaching, because any way that I wanted to go do this and help other people beyond just my school walls was again kind of how I got some bigger goals. And lately I am the English coordinator for our district and want to see more and more participation in English through a way that's not simply testing. Right? So let's go out on that note. Tell us, as your listeners, and we certainly would listen to you for hours, I think, but if you could summarize something you would tell a young person to go out on this Tuesday morning, of what they could think about or how they could process the path that they're going to take down the road, what would you suggest to them? Because that was one of my favorite, was always asking the seniors to kind of pay it forward or share something with a freshman that might be coming in the door. What would you say to somebody who's kind of just getting started?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, the most important thing that was somehow told to me and that I would share with any young person is to simply go for it. Put yourself in positions that you're not used to being in. So be the only person of color in a room. Be the first person to raise your hand in a lecture hall. Go to your professor's office hours if college is the route for you. And if not, then keep the main thing the main thing. And that's not just for going to college or not going to college, but when it comes to finding your journey and which path you want to go down, LeBron James, I think, said it: keep the main thing the main thing. Arts is the main thing for me, and I am using the arts in every single area. And I'm an educator, so you can still keep the main thing the main thing. And if your goal is to make money off of it, if you keep the main thing, the money is going to be the cherry on top, and it'll be there. There's so much more fulfillment if you keep your eye on the prize and forget about things that may come in and jeopardize that or deter you from that. If you keep your eye on the prize, then nothing can stop you from reaching what you need to reach.
Fantastic. I think I'm getting older. I say fantastic too much. But you have been lucky with us this morning to hear from Breanna Walker on KCPS Homeroom here on ELA Tuesday. We thank you, Breanna, for your sharing of your path and your experiences and your definite awesome energy and your wonderful wisdom. So much love and luck to you on your future. Stay in touch. Yes. I'll let you know when this airs. In Kansas City, if you need some inspiration, keep watching, because KCPS Homeroom will have further interviews in the next coming weeks. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great day.